I don't want people to think I'm going to be in angry ranty mode tonight about the situation with our manager. But what I would say is that Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold and Jurgen Klopp, they just need to stop with the sound bites. You know, we all want them to win the last 6 games. But it wasn't easy to take Jurgen Klopp saying, we'll give everything for these last 6 games. I expect no less. It shouldn't have to be said. But talk is cheap at this point. What we've had since the international break has been just abject failure. We've gone from a position where multiple trophies are possible to now a position where we need help. We need a bit of luck to win a league title. And it doesn't sit well with me. But I also understand and appreciate that there are people out there who will say, look, Craig, we probably didn't think we're going to be in a league title race this season. And if you had offered me this situation 6 or 7 months ago, I'd have taken it. And I fully respect where those people are coming from. But I think your circumstances change and your objectives change as the season goes on. And whether we thought it would happen or not, we are in a title race. But we could have been in a better position in the title race. Look at last weekend as a prime example. There's no reason we should not be beating a poor Crystal Palace team at Anfield at home. There isn't. There's no reason for it. So the players need to stop with the talking and more actions. We heard what they wanted to do for the manager. We heard that they wanted to give him the big send-off. We heard all of it and it was lovely to hear. But it hasn't been backed up. And it feels like since we've gotten a lot of the first teamers back, so Trent, Jota, Alisson, and some others from injury, we've regressed instead of going forward. So I guess the question that I wanted to put to people is, do we need to start dropping players? Regardless of if they're better than others or not. If they're not performing right now, whether it be because of rhythm, because of fatigue, whatever it might be, we were picking up wins with the younger players, with the hungrier players. And since we started to get the, I won't call them stars back, but what we consider the first teamers back, we've fallen backwards. That's a difficult one to come to terms with. And I'm not going to single out any one person or individual because it's been a collective failure so far. But I don't know how we gone from a situation where we went to that Old Trafford FA Cup quarter-final full of optimism and lost a bit of a crazy game. And it was a crazy game, and it was one of those that you think, it's a cup tie, it's not great, these things can happen. Then we go into the international break and we've got those 2 weeks to kind of stew in our own anger or frustration, and then you want to put it right. So we come into the next week, we start off win, then we go to Old Trafford. Another game where they frustrated us at Anfield once this season, they knocked us out of the FA Cup, and we go there and you're thinking, make a statement. This is where you put in that performance that you were talking about. This is where you put in that response. And again, we capitulated. We let a very average United team get another point. And that isn't good enough. And from then to here, it's just been a setback one after another. You know, Atalanta, for all their endeavour and efforts, we are a better team. But we didn't show it and they did, and they fully deserve their place in the semi-final. To hear Klopp say we'll give it everything for these last 6 games, as I mentioned, it's good to hear, but it's a week too late. Where was everything last week against Crystal Palace? And can we please stop entrusting the same players who've been letting them down? It feels like Jurgen Klopp wants to take his stubbornness or his favouritism of certain players right through to the end of the season, regardless of their performances. So if we really do want to go and win these next 6 games and try and put the pressure on Manchester City, Klopp's going to have to change as well. He can't leave substitutions so late. He can't keep putting faith in players who may have rewarded him for that faith in the past, but simply aren't doing it now. And there I'm talking about Darwin Núñez, Mohamed Salah, Lucho to some extent. Canade, I think, has fallen off a little bit. There are lots of players who are living off reputations, and I think that Klopp needs to realise that if we really want to have a go at this, no more carrying passengers. Whoever's performing, put them in. Whoever's looking good in training, put them in. We haven't got any wiggle room for mistakes anymore. We simply don't. We have to go and resolve this. And look, I don't know if City will drop points or not, but I know I don't like having to wait for them to drop points. I know it's not great knowing that week last week against Palace could have left us in a whole different position. Imagine we were sitting here now as an example and we didn't turn it around last night against Atalanta and we were feeling a little bit down on ourselves. But we knew if we won the last 6 games we were going to win the league title. We could have had that feeling if we just beat a really poor Crystal Palace team, but we didn't. And now, yes, we may go on top of the league table by the time Manchester City play next, but they still have those games in hand. And I said to you guys when City played Arsenal that I wanted Arsenal to beat City because I wanted City knocked out of the title race. I wanted City to concentrate on other things. It didn't happen, and now the inevitable seems to have happened, where ourselves and Arsenal are looking up at a Manchester City team who, even their own fans will admit, aren't in the best place at the moment themselves, but we're having to rely on others to do us favours. That's not how you win league titles. Conceding the first goal in 21 games this season is not how you win a league title. So we need to step up, and Klopp needs to stop being so frustrating and start picking players on form and not off history or reputation. And I think that's where I went with my team selection today. You know, you may have seen my predicted 11 for the game against Fulham at the weekend. If you haven't, I'll run through it really quickly. Alisson in goal, Trent at right back, Robbo at left back. I think Kanade needs to be put to the bench, so Kwanzaa in alongside Van Dijk. In an ideal world, I'd love to give Van Dijk a rest. I'd love to rotate out Van Dijk and give him a breather because he played a lot of games. But we just don't have the personnel to really do that, in my opinion. So he's got to play. Into midfield, I went for Endo, McAllister and Harvey Elliott because I swear to God, if I see Jurgen Klopp picking Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai again, how am I supposed to believe that anything's going to change? Because they haven't been good enough. It doesn't really matter what the reason is, whether it's form, confidence, rhythm, doesn't matter. They aren't performing. They can't keep being rewarded. What message does that send to a Harvey Elliott on the bench, a Ryan Gravenberch on the bench, a Jayden Danns on the bench? If these guys just keep getting picked, they can go out and stink the gaff up and put in poor performance after poor performance, but it doesn't matter. They'll get picked. Why? That can't be the case. So my midfield, as I mentioned, was Endo, McAllister and Elliott. Up top, I changed completely. Diogo Jota on the right. On the left-hand side, I've gone for Cody Gakpo. And through the middle, why not play Jayden Danns? Because I tell you what, folks, I seen more from Jayden Danns in 10 or 11 minutes last night than I did from some of those other forwards. At least he was putting himself about. At least he was trying to do something. But we shouldn't have to look to kids to rescue us. And I guess that's where we can go back to the transfer window and ask, did FSG dig deep enough? I don't think squad depth has been a problem for us this season. I think it's just been a case of injuries. Yes, they've played a part, but also favouritism. Also a lack of options from Jurgen in regards to tactical fluency. A lack of decision making. How can you be outwitted by Gasperini doing the same thing twice? Because that's all it took yesterday, was him at half-time to get his team to go man on man, man-mark our players out of the game, and that was it. We were blunted. We were forced to just ping long balls forward and hope for the best, and it didn't work out. These aren't the actions of somebody who is at the very top of their game. I don't know if Jurgen Klopp or some of those players have checked out mentally. I've got no idea, and I've got no right to accuse them of it. But I tell you what, it doesn't half look like a shambles at the minute from the outside. This is how I'm feeling about the situation. I don't think we can just keep looking to do the same things and hope for the best. We need to be proactive now, and that involves making changes. And why not look to the future? Why not look to the Harvey Elliots, the Gravenberchs, the Jayden Danns, the Bobby Clarks? Why not? What have we got to lose at this point?